something shifts before God changes your life. You feel it. The pressure increases. The confusion grows louder. People start leaving. Doors begin closing. And deep inside you wonder, God, did I do something wrong? But what if this season is not punishment? What if it is preparation? Most people quit right before breakthrough. They mistake spiritual stretching for failure. They run back to comfort instead of walking into purpose. And that is exactly why this message matters. Because when God is about to bless you in a powerful way, your life often gets uncomfortable first. Your faith gets tested. Your patience gets stretched. Your heart gets exposed. God is not trying to destroy you. He is trying to transform you. The pain you feel may actually be the separation between who you were and who God is calling you to become. So if you've been crying silently, fighting battles nobody sees, trying to stay faithful while everything feels uncertain, this message is for you. Because the signs before breakthrough are already showing up in your life. God disrupts comfort before delivering purpose. God disrupts comfort before delivering purpose, and most people do not recognize it while it is happening. What once felt normal suddenly feels empty. The routines that used to satisfy you no longer bring peace. You begin to feel restless inside, almost like your spirit knows you were created for something more. That discomfort is not always a sign that something is wrong. Sometimes it is proof that God is pulling you out of a season you were never meant to stay in forever. Growth rarely feels convenient. God will often allow situations to stretch you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually because comfort can quietly become a prison. A comfortable life can keep people stuck in fear, excuses, and small thinking. So God shakes familiar things. He challenges your dependence on approval, routines, and temporary security. He begins teaching you how to trust him beyond what feels safe. There are moments when God removes distractions so you can finally hear his voice clearly. The loss of comfort creates room for clarity. You begin praying differently, thinking differently, seeing yourself differently. The pain of transition starts producing strength, discipline, and spiritual maturity that easy seasons could never develop inside you. Delays are preparation, not rejection. Delays are preparation, not rejection, even though waiting can feel deeply painful. Many people secretly believe that if something is taking longer than expected, God must have forgotten them. But some of the most important work God does happens during seasons where nothing appears to be moving. While you are waiting outwardly, he is building something inwardly. Waiting exposes what controls the heart. It reveals impatience, fear, insecurity, and the desperate need to control outcomes. God uses delay to teach trust. Not shallow trust based on emotions, but deep faith that remains steady even when answers do not arrive quickly. Real spiritual growth often begins when people stop demanding immediate results and start surrendering the timeline completely to God. In everyday life, delays can protect you from opportunities you are not emotionally prepared for yet. A relationship delayed may save you from heartbreak. Success delayed may protect your character. Closed doors may be preventing future regret that you cannot currently see. God understands timing in ways human understanding never will. Some seasons feel silent because preparation is happening beneath the surface. Just like roots grow underground before a tree becomes visible, God strengthens people privately before elevating them publicly. The waiting season develops endurance, wisdom, emotional stability, and a stronger dependence on his guidance. Some people must leave for growth to begin. Some people must leave for growth to begin, and that truth can be incredibly painful to accept. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Some people enter your life for a season, while others quietly keep you connected to fear, insecurity, confusion, or the version of yourself God is asking you to leave behind. When God begins preparing you for deeper purpose, he often starts by changing your environment and separating you from voices that constantly drain your spirit. At first, the separation feels personal. You question yourself. You replay conversations in your mind. You wonder why certain connections suddenly became distant or uncomfortable. But spiritual growth requires honesty, and honesty reveals that some relationships survive only when you stay small, silent, and spiritually weak. The moment you begin healing, setting boundaries, or pursuing purpose, tension appears. God sometimes removes people because he sees what you cannot see. He knows who secretly feeds your doubt instead of your faith. He knows which relationships distract you from discipline, peace, and obedience. Letting go does not always mean anger or hatred. Sometimes it simply means trusting God enough to stop forcing connections he is no longer blessing. Lonely seasons often become sacred seasons. Without constant noise and unhealthy attachment, your heart becomes more sensitive to God's direction, wisdom, and peace. Spiritual attacks often increase before breakthroughs. Spiritual attacks often increase before breakthroughs, which is why some of the hardest moments appear right before major transformation. Suddenly your thoughts feel heavier. Fear becomes louder. Discouragement grows stronger. You start questioning your purpose, your future, even your prayers. What once felt clear now feels uncertain. Many people assume this pressure means they are failing, but sometimes resistance appears because growth is happening beneath the surface. The enemy fights hardest against people who are moving closer to healing, purpose, and freedom. Fear tries to convince you to quit before the breakthrough arrives. Doubt whispers that nothing will ever change. Anxiety attempts to drain your focus and weaken your confidence in God. The battle often begins in the mind long before it appears anywhere else. This is why spiritual discipline becomes so important during difficult seasons. Prayer cannot become occasional. Faith cannot depend on emotions. You have to protect your mind daily through God's promises, wise choices, and consistent obedience. Strength grows when you continue trusting God while everything around you feels unstable. There are seasons where survival itself becomes an act of faith, choosing peace over panic, worship over worry, persistence over hopelessness. God often uses the pressure of spiritual battles to develop endurance, courage, emotional maturity, and complete dependence on him. Faith grows strongest in silent seasons. Silent seasons test faith deeply. When answers delay and heaven feels quiet, God is still working beneath the surface, building trust, patience, strength, and spiritual maturity inside you. God develops character before giving blessings. Before elevation comes preparation. God shapes integrity, humility, discipline, and obedience in private, so the blessing will strengthen you instead of destroying your purpose. Discipline matters more than temporary motivation. Motivation fades quickly, but discipline keeps you praying, growing, and trusting God, even on hard days when emotions feel weak and the journey feels heavy. Peace is a sign of deeper trust in God. True peace comes when you surrender control to God completely and trust his timing more than your fears, doubts, pressure, or unanswered questions. Your weakness can become God's greatest strength.
God often uses broken places, failures, and weakness to reveal his power, teaching you to depend on him instead of your own limited strength. God's timing always protects and prepares you. What feels delayed may actually be divine protection. God sees the future clearly and prepares your heart before releasing the blessing you prayed for. The biggest realization is this: God was never abandoning you in the hard season. He was preparing you through it. Every delay, every closed door, every painful separation, every silent night, none of it was wasted. God was building strength where you felt weak, faith where you felt fear, wisdom where you felt confusion, character where you felt broken. And now the question becomes, will you trust him enough to keep walking forward? Because breakthrough is not just about receiving blessings. It is about becoming the person who can carry them with wisdom, humility, discipline, and faith.
Some people only want God to change their circumstances.
But God wants to transform their heart first. This season is shaping you, refining you, preparing you for a level of peace, purpose, and spiritual strength you could not reach without the struggle. Do not give up now. God is still working behind the scenes, still opening doors you cannot see, still fighting battles you do not understand, still leading you toward the life he promised.